7 attributes, but I'm just using this as an example. And therefore, from the perspective of chesed, this is a better way to go. And from the perspective of Gevura, that's a better way to go. So they're both true. And the only reason why the halacha is one way and not the other is because Hashem chose, that's his will, that this should be the halacha. And therefore, to get back to our original question, the first question was about the fact that the angels in Shemayim were fighting for Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi to be there. And we were fighting for him to be here. And we asked, how's that even possible? How is it possible that Baal Shem Tov should think that the reason why there's such joy, Lamaila, is because he passed away? How does that make sense? So we explained it's based on the same principle. There is an advantage of the neshama being up there because that's a more spiritual world and has all the infinite qualities and advantages of being in an infinite spiritual world. There is a mile of the neshama being down here because here's where you can connect to the essence of Hashem. And being that both are true, and Hashem wants both of these inyanim to be revealed in the world, therefore he has angels in the heavens, and he has neshamas up there, souls, and he has humans down here. Our avodah is to bring out the advantage of the physical world, and the neshamas up there, their avodah is to bring out the advantage in the spiritual world. So they see the maila of a neshama being up there, and therefore they were fighting for that. Our mission is, and the reason why Hashem put us here on earth is the opposite. We are supposed to do our avodah to bring out the mile of the physical, tangible, kashmizical world. So we have to do everything for the opposite. The neshama should be in the body, person should be healthy, everything should be revealed good. So this explains another story, which is really a shocking story on the surface. And that is Rabbi Yitzchak bar Ditchever. He was known by a title. His title was the advocate of the Jewish people. In other words, he would very often get up in shul, and instead of speaking words of Torah, he would be speaking words in defense of Yidden. In other words, speak to Hashem and bring out the qualities of the Yidden and how there is really no argument to God would punish a Jew. And even if someone does something wrong, there's a way of explaining it, and all sorts of things. There are a lot of really beautiful stories of what he did and how he did it. Like one of the famous stories are that it was Pesach, and he asked someone to bring him a certain material that you weren't allowed to bring into the country. It was illegal to bring this material into the country. You know, come to a bunch of Jews and say, does anyone have this material that you're not allowed to bring into the country? Sure enough, a whole bunch of people brought it to him, and there he had the material. What he needed it for, nobody knew. The next thing he said, can anybody bring me, it was Pesach, can anybody bring me a piece of bread, a piece of chametz? Rebbe, chametz, it's Pesach. I just asked, could anybody bring me a piece of chametz? Of course, nobody had any chametz to bring. So he turned to Hashem and said, look, there are police, guards, soldiers at all the borders, making sure nobody brings in illegal material. Well, look how much material I was able to get. You gave a halach in the Torah, they should need chametz. You didn't put that any guards, any soldiers, anybody to stop anybody who does the opposite. And nobody can come up with any chametz. These are your children, and so on and so forth. These are the kind of things that he would do from time to time. And he was the advocate of the Israel. When they say he was the word advocate, it wasn't just what we call a borrowed name. Now, the Rebbe says he was in that generation the one who came to Shemayim and defended the Israel in the heavenly court, to the extent that it's known that if you just say his name, or you just say the name of the city, Barditchev, it's already a schus. It's already something that brings defense to a Jew. So before he passed away, he said that he's not going to go into Gan Eden. He's going to be on strike until Mashiach comes. That's it. So the Friedrich Rebbe told the story, and then he said, and it appears that they must have given some goodies, and they got him into Gan Eden because Mashiach didn't come. What does it mean he gave him goodies? We're talking about a tzaddik going to Gan Eden. So everyone understands goodies up there means that they gave him such reward, they gave him such amazing light of Hashem shining that he can get in Gan Eden, that he was overwhelmed and he went into Gan Eden and I guess he forgot about his promise. That's the only way you can explain it. What else could it mean? So the Rebbe told the story, he says, no, it's still shocking. A person that his whole life was dedicated to Klal Yisrael, to the Jewish community, not to himself personally, and he was the defender of Klal Yisrael, it's inconceivable that at that time when he's up there, which obviously up there tzaddik is even more spiritual, in such a time, he should abandon us and go somewhere that he's going to have his pleasure. He'll be basking in the light of Hashem and leave us stuck in Golus. Doesn't make any sense. So how do you explain the story? What did they give him? What did they show him that was able to convince him to go into Gan Eden and sort of give up his demand? So the Rebbe explained it in a very beautiful way. The Rebbe said, yes, we beg, we plead, but at the end of the day, the Eibishter still kept Yidden and Golus. So obviously, something inconceivable to us, but Hashem has his reason, which is, of course, emes, no doubt. No, but when we talk about the future, we beg Hashem and the Golus. But we look back, we know for sure that the fact that we're in Golus until the second is 100% justified, and it's based on Hashem's infinite wisdom that this is the best thing for us, even though we don't understand. So the Rebbe said, what they did was, they allowed Rabbi Yitzhak Berditchever to see and perceive Hashem's perspective of the advantage of being in Golus, where Hashem knows it. And once he saw that, he no longer had the strength to fight and demand to such an extent that we go out of Golus in the same way as before, because now he sees the tremendous, tremendous advantage of being in Golus, the way Hashem sees it, so to speak. So then the question is, and what happened when he was alive? How come Hashem didn't show that to him then? And that's the answer, because when the neshama is down here, we're supposed to see, and that's our mission, to see the advantage of the physical world, of making a dwelling place in the physical world. And those that are up there, their avodah is to see the advantage of the spiritual world. It doesn't mean that up there they're not davening for us and so on, but in general, they see the advantage of that spiritual world more than they see the advantage of the physical world. And that's the same with those neshamas that were demanding this about Rabbi Yehuda Nossi or the story of the Baal Shem Tov, because they see the incredible and infinite advantages in the spiritual world. Let's remember, you probably learned this in one class or another about Mashiach, that the Rambam's opinion is that Tchias HaMeisim is temporary. Again, Ramban doesn't hold by that. Those who in Kabbalah don't hold by that. All the Rabbeim and Chassidus don't go by that. But the Rambam's opinion is that even after Tchias HaMeisim, it'll only be temporary. I don't know what that means, 100 years, a few hundred years. And after that, the ultimate reward is when the neshama is outside of the body. So that's the way they understand it up there. They see the advantage of a spiritual life. We are meant to see, and our mission is to see and perceive the advantage of the Dir V'Tachtenim, this physical world. And that's our avodah. There's a story told once. The Friedrich Rebbe visited a yeshiva. And in every Lubavitch yeshiva, you have two people, one which is called a mashpia, and one which is a mashgiach. I know some people mix up the two. Some people even say mashpiach, which is a combination of the two, but they're two separate kinds of people. Mashpia is someone who's in charge of Chassidus, and Mashgiach is someone who's in charge of Nigla. He's there when they're learning Gemara, Halacha, and he's supposed to be supervising. And Mashpia is the one who's supposed to be guiding Bachrim when it comes to learning Chassidus or doing their Aveda to become sort of more refined in their character traits. That's a Mashpia. So the Pri Rebbe once came to Yeshiva, and naturally to see how things are going there. And one of the things he said in terms of his analysis of the yeshiva was, I don't like, there's too much peace between the mashpia and the mashgiach. Too much peace? How can that be something which is wrong? So he said like this, Bachrim have to learn Chassidus and they have to learn Nigla. And for that purpose, there were two people that were installed in the staff, in the faculty of the yeshiva. One is a mashpia, and he's the one who's supposed to tell the boys about Chassidus and sort of guide them in that direction and tell them whatever they need to hear to appreciate learning Chassidus and davening as a chassid and doing their avodah as a chassid. Then have another person, his avodah is, and his mission is to be there to teach them Gemara and Halacha and the importance of knowing Gemara and Halacha and spending a lot of time learning Gemara and Halacha. So really both of them are pulling in two different directions. This one is talking to them about learning as much as they can, Nigla. This one's talking about learning as much as you can, Chassidus. Between the two of them, the Bachar ends up to be in sort of a balanced way. But over here he said, they made peace between each other. Of course, it was saying it in a humorous way, but it meant to say each one is so understanding of the other that, of course, it's important to learn Nigla, that they're not demanding their part so strong, and the other one's not demanding his part so strong, and the ones who are supposed to be receiving are losing out. So in other words, Hashem created it that way. There should be certain people that their thing is supposed to be to promote learning of Nigla, and certain people they're supposed to be promoting the learning of Chassidus. And everyone is supposed to be passionate about his thing. Doesn't mean he doesn't understand the other, but it means his main passion is this, and the other one's main passion is that. And as a result of that, the students pick up both, and they find that balanced place in the middle. So if someone would ask you a question, so what's better? A person should have an occupation where he's a shliach, or should have an occupation where he can teach Torah all day? Even in Chabad, there are people that their occupations, they're Rosh Hashiva, they teach Torah all day. And then there are people that they're shluchim and they're doing Mivtzayim all day. So what's better? What? You can't do both. So clearly there are advantages in one over the other. And Hashem created people that their shlichus is one over the other. And therefore, there'll be certain people that they'll have more of a feeling, what's going to resonate more with them and their personality is, I want to do shlichus. And other people, they're going to have a feeling that they want to be learning all day because that's their shlichus. So therefore, they have a leaning towards that. And the truth is, we need both. We need people that are doing this avodah, people doing that avodah. And when you have two different people doing different avodas, the world is in balance. Hashem created Kohanim and Leviim, that they're mainly and primarily in the Beis HaMikdash. Then he created other Yidden that they're doing regular work out there, working out in the fields and doing other things. They're not sitting in the Beis HaMikdash. But between the two of them, things are balanced. So all these different avodas that we have, there's avodah of men, there's avodah of women, there's avodah of adults, there's avodah of children. Each one in their place is supposed to recognize and feel and be motivated and passionate about what their shlichus is, even though they understand the other as well. Because their avodah is to bring out the advantage of this particular avodah in the world. So this goes back to the original question with the Gemara. How could it be that a heavenly voice comes out and says, this oven is tameh, and a human being here on earth says, or the opposite, a human being on earth said the Torah is given to us, and we sat down together, and the majority of opinions all said that is the other way. And the halakha is the way we think. So we said, it's shocking. How could there be such a thing? This is the answer. There's a heavenly voice, which means from the heaven perspective, judging and going by the principles of what's important from the heavenly perspective, the spiritual perspective, the halacha is supposed to be one way. When you judge how things are supposed to be from an earthly, human perspective, we put together all our brains and the majority of opinions another way. What does it mean the Torah is given down to earth? That the halacha should be the way humans see it, not the way it's seen in heaven by angels or neshamas or even a spiritual heavenly voice. So it's not that one is true, one is not true. It's that one is true from a heavenly perspective and one is true from an earthly perspective. And what he was saying was, once Hashem gave the Torah down here, Hashem wants everything down here to be ruled by the Bezdin, by humans and by human perception, human understanding, and that's what should guide us. Okay, we're going to move on to the next thing, which we did start last when was it, when we had a class on Wednesday, but let me go back on that and continue.
Which page is it?
Right now, we're on the page number 1.
Oh.
What? Yeah.
We're supposed to know all this.
After we finish this class, you should be supposed to know all this.
No, but it's something that we learn already or no?
No. Each one, I said each line here is a certain subject in Chassidus. And we're going to go through it. We started, but we didn't finish. We're doing the first 11 things. So again, the next question that we had was, what does it mean the Torah is 2,000 years older than the world? Or the Torah is the tools with which Hashem created the world, or the Torah is the blueprints? All these statements that the Torah preceded creation, how could we understand that when the whole Torah is about things happening in this physical world? All the stories in the Chumash, all the details of halacha, it's all about physical things, what to do, how to do in the field, people, animals. And then we're saying all this was already in existence 2,000 years before the world was created. How can we understand that? So we began to explain it by number 9, and we said the Torah is called Mashal HaKadmoni. I'm going to just say this briefly because we spent the whole class on this. And why is the Torah called Hashem's Mashal? So we said because just like Rabbi Meir needed 300 Mishalim, he understood things so deeply that he needed to bring it down 300 levels. And Shlomo Melech understood things so deeply that he needed to bring it down 3,000 levels, which means there are layers and layers and layers of depth to the same concept. You read something in the Chumash, you read something in Gemara, or Shlomo Melech said something in Mishlei. You look at a pasuk, and there's depth to it, there's wisdom to it. We should know there are 3,000 layers of deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper meaning to those words. So how much more so when you talk about Hashem himself, that his wisdom is infinitely greater than anything else that we can even talk about. And Hashem took his wisdom and wanted to communicate and transmit this wisdom to us. So he put it into a mashal, which is the Torah the way we know it. So the Torah the way we know it is talking about an ox and a donkey, someone who digs a hole in the ground, if he's liable if somebody falls in, talking about fields, about planting, about men and women and marriage, and all the laws that are found in the Torah. There's wisdom to every single halacha, but the wisdom in the halacha is much deeper than those just simple halacha. And there are layers and layers and layers of depth to this wisdom. The way we know it, it's pretty much simple because it's about simple things. But when you go into the deeper layers of it, it's much deeper than what we see and than what we could comprehend. So this itself needs to be understood what I'm talking about. Yes.
Isn't like a muscle usually not true, but like the Torah is true?
The Torah is true, right? So when we call the Torah a mashal, it only means that this is just like a mashal is just an external, something which externally is similar to the nimshal. That's why it's called a mashal. Let's say if you talk about Hashem and use a mashal of a king and his children, and you say Hashem is the king and we're the children, and this happened. So of course you're not comparing Hashem to a physical king, and we're not comparing us to physical children, but the principle behind it in the mashal and the principle in the real thing is the same principle. Now the Medrash says, let me give you a mashal. The Medrash says when Hashem told the Jews after he gave the Torah, he told them to build a Mishkan. So the Medrash gives this mashal. He was once a king. He had a daughter whom he loved, one and only daughter, and the time came for her to get married. And there was a chassan who proposed to marry her. And the king said to this son-in-law, listen, I can't, on one hand, can't part with her because she's my daughter and I love her so much. On the other hand, but she's being married to you, so of course she has to go to you. So I'll ask you for a favor. Wherever you go, build another house or another room. So I won't be far from you, I'll be near you all the time. That's the mashal. What's the nimshal? Hashem said to the Yidden, I have a daughter whom I love so much. And who are we in this mashal? We're the son-in-law. And there's a marriage between us and the Torah. And Hashem says, I can't take her back because I already gave it to you. Torah is no longer in heaven, it's down here. On the other hand, I can't part with her because I love the Torah so much. So wherever you go, build a little structure. It's called the sanctuary, a mishkan. And wherever you travel, I'll come along with you. That's a mashal and a nimshal. Of course, the mashal is not, Hashem is not physical and all this is not in the physical sense, but the principle, the idea of a relationship and the idea of do something that will always be connected to you, that principle is found in the mashal and the nimshal. And that's what we mean when we say that everything has so much depth to it. Layers on layers of depth, which means the principle behind it is the same, but of course, if it's a concept about something very physical, even a child can understand it. But when you start using this principle for things that are more abstract, then you have to be very intelligent to be able to grasp it and understand it. It's much deeper. It has much more meaning. I like to use this example because it's so simple that everybody can understand it. But from this, we'll go to other things. Right? This came up before. The example is if you're teaching children for the first time, I don't know what age that is, whether it's 5 years old or 6-year-old, for the first time in their life, they're learning arithmetic. And you want to teach them arithmetic, and you teach them that 2 + 2 = 4. Try it. Get up in class and say, children, I want to teach something new today. 2 + 2 = 4. They're going to look at you with an open mouth, wide eye. They don't know what you're talking about. So you'll take 2 apples, another 2 apples. Say, here's 2 apples, and here are 2 apples. How much do we have all together? And you'll show them to count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now we got it. Walk into the classroom the next day and say, children, if you have 2 oranges and 2 oranges, how much do you have all together? What do you think the reaction will be? So I'll tell you. The reaction will be, you never taught us anything about oranges. So you teach them 2 oranges or oranges is 4 oranges. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4. Come in the next day and you say, children, if you have 2 chairs and 2 chairs, how much do you have all together? You never taught us anything about chairs. This is going to happen one time, another time. You know what? One day they're going to get it. What are they going to get? 2 + 2 = 4 is not about chairs. It's not about oranges. It's not about potatoes or tomatoes. It's a concept. And the concept is really applies to everything. All of a sudden, this concept, before it was limited to apples. Then it became a little bit bigger, apples and oranges. Then even bigger, apples, oranges, and chairs. Once they get it, it's infinite, it's unlimited, and there's nothing that won't apply to it. It applies to everything and anything. 2 + 2 = 4. It's a principle of logic that applies to everything. So the truth is, everything you learn is the same thing. Everything you learn in halacha, everything you learn in chumash, everything you learn in Pirkei Avos, you learn what you learn, but there's a principle behind it, and the principle is not limited and restricted to that physical example. Let's take an example of something we just learned ourselves in the class. I think we spoke about this. You remember we spoke about the idea that when Mashiach will come, it says all the Yom Tovim will be bottled. They'll all be canceled. The only one that will be left is Purim. Was that in this class we spoke about it? So the question was, how can that be? One of the most fundamental things about Mashiach is that when he comes, not only the Torah won't chas v'shalom be anything different, it'll be actually strengthened more than anything else, not chas v'shalom become bottled. So the way it's explained in Chassidus is based on the principle of Shraga B'tira Mai Ahanilei. We just had that recently, that a candle during broad daylight, what does it accomplish? The Gemara says this in reference to Pesach, that the night before Pesach, you have to search for chametz with a candle. And the Gemara asks, why don't we light the candle? Why don't we use the candle during the day and look for it during the day? Or does it have to be at night? And the Gemara answers, because when the sun is shining by day, the light of a candle doesn't do anything, doesn't accomplish anything. So it means if you take a candle and you take it outside where the sun is shining, for example, you'll see that you can hardly see that there's a flame, and you surely don't see the light of the candle. Doesn't mean it's not there, it is there, but it has no significance, has no impact, because the light of the sun is so much greater. When Mashiach will come, the simcha we're going to experience because Mashiach is here, and the simcha we're going to experience on Pesach, it'll be the same Pesach, same matzah, the seder, the 4 cups of wine, and we're going to be rejoicing about Geula. But because Mashiach will be here, the simcha of Pesach will be infinitely greater than it was all these years of Golus, to the extent that the simcha that we experienced before will become almost non-existent in comparison to the simcha that we're experiencing now. Is these two principles, are they the same? Are they different? It's such a complicated question. Of course, it's the same principle. But when you talk about a flame of fire in the presence of sunlight, you can explain that to a child. If you want to explain the principle of Yontif being bottled because there's a bigger simcha, a child won't understand it. That's already a little bit more abstract. But the principle of logic is the same principle. And you have this in spheres. I'll give you an example. There's a very famous quote brought down from Eitz Chaim, and a lot of Maimorim Chassidus that explain it. And it says that this and this level, it's Keser, is a brilliant, brilliant light, but it's dark compared to the source. Is it light or is it dark? It's infinite light, but compared to the highest source, it's like darkness. What does it mean? Same idea. Just like a candle in the presence of sunlight is nothing, this light, even though it's infinite compared to us, but compared to the highest source, it's nothing. So what you see is you have a principle of logic. It could apply to spheres. It could be applied to emotion. If a person, for example, walks down the street, we just spoke about this. I don't remember where it was. It must have been in the Mimer somewhere. Walk down the street and you find a $10 bill. Let's make it a $20 bill. And you feel very good about it. You get home and you want to tell somebody, I found the $20 bill. Before you get a chance to say anything, You get a phone call, you just find out that you just won $50 million lottery. 50 million. I can make it 100 million. I think 50 would do good. Would you tell your friend, you're not going to believe what happened today? I won $50 million and I also found a $20 bill on the floor. No, most normal people wouldn't even think about that. You forget about the $20. And it's silly even to mention it when you're talking about that you just found $50 million. It's the same principle. The smaller thing in the presence of the bigger thing just gets lost, gets canceled out. So this could apply to emotions, to feelings. It could apply to feelings in simcha. It could be applied to feelings in the opposite, chas v'shalom, that a small little thing that annoys you and bothers you, when you're bothered by something bigger, then the little thing doesn't even exist. Who thinks about it? Somebody told me that his wife wasn't feeling well. She had she had COVID. And then he was talking to the doctor a few days later, and he says, is she feeling better? Like, all the things are starting to bother her, that the broom is not in the right place, and the napkins should be in a different corner in the house. In other words, when you're feeling better, all of a sudden, all these little things that bother you. Before, when a person's in bed with high fever or chas v'shalom, something else, nothing bothers you. It's there, it's the same problem, but it's non-existent in the presence of the bigger problem. And the same is with emotion, the same is with intellect, the same is with spheres, and the same could be in Atzilus. Wherever you go, you'll have this principle of logic, but the higher up you go, the more difficult it is to kind of understand, because you're dealing with things that are more abstract. So what we're saying is that Shlomo HaMelech understood things, every principle that he gave in wisdom had 3,000 layers of depth. Rabbi had 300 layers of depth. And the Torah is layers upon layers upon layers of depth. So when we say that the Torah preceded the world, it means the wisdom of Torah, the Chochmah of Hashem, which is wisdom and all the principles of logic that the whole Torah is based on, all this exists before the Torah. Because the Torah, the way we know it, is the principle of logic being applied to bananas or oranges or to chairs, but the principles itself is greater. Is there a science to how a bird flies? Yeah. What came first, the bird or the science? The science. The science, there's a certain scientific principle that, based on that explains how the bird is flying. Just like there's a scientific principle how they went and they built airplanes based on a certain scientific. The principle comes first, and then there's an actual bird that's created based on this principle. In fact, that's what it means, that Chochmah is the first sphere. And everything in the world, whether it's a bird, whether it's an animal, whether it's trees, whether it's earth, whether it's heaven, whether it's the stars, the constellations, everything in the world, there's a science to it, there's a wisdom to how this was put together and what's invested in it. In the human body or the DNA, there's a science and a brilliant wisdom to it. The wisdom comes before the actual creation. So basically, the wisdom of Hashem precedes the whole Torah, and then Hashem took that Torah and that wisdom and invested it in those things that are found in the Torah. So that's what it means that the Torah itself, these are the tools. This Hashem took his wisdom and he was mislabish, he invested it, he enclosed it in all these gashmistic things. And therefore, when a person says that this is the real wisdom of Torah about the ox and the donkey and the monkey, that it's very foolish and they don't begin to understand what real wisdom is all about. The real wisdom of Torah is infinitely deeper, not chas v'shalom, a different thing. It's just the true depth of what it says in the Torah. You know, in Chassidus it says that when husband and wife get married, it's really a union of Zoh and Malchus. Zoh, the 6 spheres, and Malchus. So every halacha in Torah that talks about the relationship between a husband and wife, the responsibilities of a husband and wife, the way a marriage comes together, the way it's supposed to be, all those details, they're also applied to Zoh and Malchus. And there are Maimorim that explain it. And then it applies to Zohar Malchus in the world of Yetzirah, and applies to Zohar Malchus in the world of Bria. It applies to Zohar Malchus in the world of Atzilus. Again, the principles of logic behind it apply to all these different levels. And then when it's brought down to earth, so to speak, these are the same principles of logic and wisdom that apply to the interaction and the relationship between husband and wife, and so on. Okay, so that is the meaning of these words, that the Torah is a mashal, and that's the meaning of number 7 and number 8 and number 6 and number 5. This is all about, and that's what the Malachim was saying. The angels were saying, give us the Torah the way it is on the real deep level. When the Yidden study Torah, they're studying 2 oranges and 2 oranges. We're going to study it on its real depth of understanding. And Hashem said, but that's the whole purpose of creation. I created the world to elevate the physical world. I want them to study Torah as it's with oranges and apples and tables and chairs, because that's the physical world. And by learning, you're elevating the physical world. That's the whole purpose. That's the whole world, the purpose of creation. So let's go back now from 1 to 11. I think we covered everything. The first thing is, what does it mean Torah is not in heaven? It means Hashem gave the Torah down here, and Hashem wants us to give a ruling that's based on the way we see it down here as humans. Number 2 are the words of the Malachim. They argued that Hashem, give your glory, meaning us, give us the Torah of Shemayim. We want to study the Torah the way it's in that deeper level. And by the way, that's what the Neshamas are doing in Gan Eden. In Gan Eden, they're learning the Torah on the deeper level. Everything it says in the Torah about an ox and about a donkey and about a field and about people and about Mizbeach, all these things, they understand it on the deeper level. And then this is the argument of the Moshe Rabbeinu, you have no Yetzirah, you have no father and mother. And this is the meaning that the Torah precedes creation. Number 5, 6, 7, and 8, and 9. And the same as number 10, that's what it means the Torah speaks down here and it alludes up there, or the reverse, the Torah speaks up there and really alludes to things down here. Okay, shoot over. If you have any questions, we'll be back in Mir Hashem on Monday, and to be continued. If you got it all straight, then we'll go on to the next part. Okay, I did the Shabbos, everybody. Yes. Yeah.
So I was reading over the pages for the Rambam.
Yeah.
Supposed to be reading the whole thing or just the